Why, hello there, friends. Have you beaten the main story and are now at a loss of what to do? Perhaps you've been at the endgame and you're running out of ideas of how to keep yourself entertained. Well, don't you worry. As a registered professional basement dweller nerd and individual who has played this game nearly every day since I got it, I can assure you there's quite a lot of things to do. And that's what we're gonna go over right now. So buckle up, sunshine, because here we go. Firstly, let's go over the obvious stuff that most of you will already know, but maybe a few completely fresh people do not know. The raiding scene. As any good MMO, Final Fantasy XIV has raids. We get 4 fights per raid cycle with 3 cycles per expansion. So a total of 12 fights per expansion, each with 2 difficulties, normal and savage. To understand these difficulties, try imagining punching a soft plush doll that is designed to be beaten by toddlers versus punching Chad McAssgrinder. These will both be very different experiences, and one will leave you a little deader than the other. Then there's ultimate fights, which is like trying to punch multiple angry, hungry bears in the balls while blindfolded and covered in a suit made out of meat and honey. It's a ton of fun. The ultimate fight, that is, not getting mauled by a bear. If you have even the slightest inkling to try out the tougher content in the game, I would highly suggest it. Unlike savage raids that become old content that nobody will care about in a few patches, ultimates are always current content, and there are always people trying to learn and do these fights. The only real downside to these fights is that everyone who did them when they were released will constantly complain about how it was so much harder back then. A clear used to mean something. I'm a special snowflake. Oh, boo hoo, fuck you. But now, say you're the raiding type and you've done all that content. You've farmed your heart out and are at the point where you just don't care about raiding anymore. What can you do then? Well, luckily there's a whole bunch of different jobs and roles that you can try and raid on. Each role allowing you to experience the raid in a significantly different way. Are you a tank main? Play a magical ranged DPS. It's actually quite a different experience, and sometimes it can feel like an entirely different raid. But that's the endgame everyone knows about, and also the content the vast majority of players do not even interact with. So what is there to do beyond raiding? Farm extremes for mounts. Each expansion has at least 7 extreme trials, each of which will drop an expansion-themed mount. For Heavensward, the Dragon expansion, you get birds. Stormblood, the Japan expansion, you get wolves. Shadowbringers, the Otherworld expansion, you get dragons. Endwalker, the bird expansion, you get Otherworld cat things. I feel like these mount themes are a little bit mismatched. These fights are what is considered endgame content for the more relaxed players, but who still want a little bit of a challenge. But that's still difficult content. I'm a filthy, smooth-brained casual, a wonderful, regular content enjoyer. What stuff can I do? Well, luckily for you, that's where literally everything else comes in. Firstly, level up all your jobs. Sure, you may think some jobs don't speak to you now or aren't that interesting, but when you try them out, they may actually be amazingly fun to play. Most jobs have a very distinct playstyle, and a job you didn't even consider trying at first may actually become your most played and favorite job. Though do be aware that most jobs also don't function below certain levels, or are awful messes and missing core skills, like Gunbreaker before it gets continuation, Warrior before it gets its big dopamine button, and Dark Knight before its job identity was ripped out. Honestly, the leveling experience in this game is kinda bad, with most jobs only becoming interesting around level 70. But maybe you'll find your new favorite. Or maybe next expansion your job will be deleted from the game and you'll have no choice but to find a new job. Relic Grind Expedition Zones. This isn't out yet for Endwalker, so yeah, you can't do that. But you can get old relics. Relics are the grindy gathered 100 bare butts part of the game, but the reward is a really good looking piece of loot that, stat-wise, is worthless until you get the very last upgrade that is only released at the very end of the expansion. But sometimes you don't care about the relic and are instead interested in exploring the expedition zone. These are unique zones that have unique mechanics inside that allow you to actually kind of customize your job, like turning a DPS job into a tank, a healer into a thermonuclear bomb, and a tank into a floor inspector. Side quests. Ever open your map and got really frustrated at all those yellow exclamation marks? Do you get annoyed that you can't click on the aetheryte because it's covered in clutter? And then it may be time to do some side quests. Who doesn't love doing the kill 10 wild boar quest, then following it up with collect 10 wild boar butt pelts quest, then doing the quest where you, a near mythical hero of legend, plays delivery boy. Peak MMO side quest material. Are you having fun yet? Though they are really good at world building and getting yourself more immersed in the lore. Perhaps instead you'd like to collect collectibles, like the different triple triad cards and minions. Maybe it's just me, but I love to collect stuff in games. And here it is no different. I see a giant list of cards that I can get. Oh, you better believe I'm working on collecting all of them. Hunt down and collect all the cards in the game, then forget the minigame exists because you're too busy reading lore text. Collect all the minions and lock them in a sort of pocket dimension, taking them out and using them only for the briefest of moments when you get them, then locking them away and forgetting they exist, never to see the light of day again. It's kinda reminds me of Pokemon in a way. Next up, fashion. Now we're getting to the real meat of the game, and the reason most of you are even playing, though none of you would ever admit it. But let's be real, we're all here for hours on end playing dress up with our Barbies. Hell, half the people I know who did Savage and Ultimate content only did so for the fashion items you can get from them. Shiny, glowy, awesome weapons? Yes please. Great looking gear that you can dye? Yes please. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more I realize that half of an FF14 player's game time is spent in front of a glamour dresser, just spending hours upon hours to get ready to look fabulous. Then the other half of that game time is spent standing idle in Limsa Lominsa. But what about housing? This is the real hardcore PvP content. Getting a house in this game is a nightmare. But with the upcoming lotto system, it'll, let's be honest, probably still be a nightmare, but one with a lot less carpal tunnel syndrome. Once you get a house, you can spend hours upon hours letting your creative side run wild. You can create a beautiful house or apartment that nobody will ever visit. You can even perhaps explore other people's properties to see what they've worked on and collect some ideas of what you'd like to do in your own. Maybe you can even write them a nice message when you visit. Hint, hint. Or, you could always create something like this. Other potential endgame content include Running the Deep dungeons, Heaven on High, and Palace of the Dead. They are randomly generated dungeons and a ton of fun to try and solo. They're great for leveling jobs and have some of the most coveted titles locked behind them. Work on crafters and play the market board. Ever wanted to know what it felt like to actually have money? Ever wanted to have so much money that it stopped having meaning to you? Well, you should probably stop wasting time watching these videos and playing video games. Well, you should probably then try and start crafting. Max out those crafters, play the market board, then max out your guild cap. Island Sanctuary. This doesn't exist yet, but I'm here dreaming it'll be something good. Is it gonna be instanced housing? Is it gonna be an Animal Crossing New Leaf minigame sort of thing? Probably neither of these things, but I can dream. If you're into role-playing, that's a thing here too. I don't know much about role-playing, but by having viewed the bottom of the party finder, it probably means you belong in horny jail. You can even make your own fun, self-imposed challenges with friends, no healer dungeon runs, no tanks in trials, that sort of thing. What is this? I dare suggest you do things in an unoptimized manner and get no reward for it? Yeah, you're right. How silly of me. Doing stupid things with friends and having a laugh. Just enjoying each other's company and goofing off for fun. Why would you ever do that? Fun? In this economy? In my video game? Is there still nothing on here that interests you? Well then, why not play a different game until a patch with content that does interest you drops? What? An MMO that respects your time and doesn't want you to play forever? Yeah, the endgame content for you may actually be to not play the game and do something else. As the lead developer Yoshi P himself said, and I am paraphrasing here, there are so many other wonderful games out there. Unsubscribe from Final Fantasy XIV for a while and go give them a try. Enjoy them and come back to Final Fantasy XIV when there's something that interests you. This is something I absolutely love about the game. It doesn't try to become a job where you must play every single day in fear of falling behind. You can very easily drop the game for weeks, months, or even entire patch cycles, and very easily and quickly catch up with the latest content due to all the catch-up gear they have. So really, if nothing in the game is holding your interest, go out there and enjoy other games. Have a blast, see some other wonderful worlds and stories. Give me the ability to not have to sit in queue when I log in. But when you decide to return, we'll all be here ready to welcome you back. But for now, goodbye my friends, and have a great day.